The world trembled as the ChronoGate powered up for the first time. Sparks of blue light rippled through the air like veins of lightning, humming with the energy of a star condensed into a single laboratory. Dr. Elara Voss stood at the control panel, her heartbeat syncing with the rhythmic pulse of the machine. Years of sacrifice, sleepless nights, and failed prototypes had led to this moment. The chance to witness alternate realities, to see what might have been. "Observation only," she whispered, almost as if reminding herself. "No contact. No crossing." But as the countdown hit 0, the laws of physics disagreed. A violent surge erupted, flooding the chamber in blinding light. Monitors shattered, alarms screamed, and a wave of heat slammed Elara backward. She felt the air split apart, a sensation like falling and flying at once. Time warped, twisting around her like a ribbon being wrung dry. For a heartbeat, she saw infinite versions of herself reflected in an invisible mirror, each trapped in their own fragment of reality. Then everything went silent. When Elara's eyes opened, she was lying on soft ground, her lab coat torn, her instruments melted into unrecognizable shapes. The laboratory was gone. Instead, she found herself in a wide plain under a violet sky. Her mind reeled as she looked up and saw 3 moons hanging in perfect alignment. The air felt heavier, alive with static. Gravity was slightly off, and a faint vibration hummed beneath her boots, as if the planet itself was breathing. She stumbled forward, trying to convince herself this was still Earth. But the horizon told another story. Towers of translucent stone glowed like coral reefs, and massive floating shapes drifted lazily in the distance, casting moving shadows across alien fields. Her first instinct was scientific awe. Her second was fear. "Parallel resonance?" she murmured, recalling her research notes. "I broke containment." She pulled a charred data disk from her pocket, the only surviving fragment of her experiment. Its edges shimmered faintly with residual energy. Suddenly, a strange sound cut through the silence, a rhythmic clicking, mechanical yet organic. She turned sharply and froze. In the haze, figures approached, humanoid silhouettes with luminous skin and eyes that mirrored the violet sky. They didn't speak. They simply stopped a few feet away and stared at her as if she were the anomaly in their world. And perhaps she was. Elara awoke in a dim, amber-lit chamber, her head pounding as if reality itself had pressed too hard against her mind. Vines crept along the walls, pulsing faintly with bioluminescent veins. The air smelled organic, damp, and alive. Her wrists were bound by soft, fibrous restraints that seemed to tighten in rhythm with her heartbeat. She struggled, and the vines reacted, almost as if offended. A door made of living bark slid open, and 3 figures entered. They wore woven armor that shimmered with a wet sheen, their eyes glowing faintly like fireflies under skin. One of them spoke in a language she couldn't recognize, a low melodic hum that resonated in her bones. A second figure stepped forward, a man, or something close to one. His voice was calm, but his expression was wary. "You came from the burning light," he said slowly, the words awkward but intelligible. "We thought it was a god's punishment." Elara blinked. "I'm not a god," she said hoarsely. "I'm a scientist. From another place." Her words meant nothing to them, yet they exchanged glances, murmuring to each other as if she'd confessed to heresy. They called themselves Symbionts, a tribe that lived in harmony with the planet's living network. Machines, they explained, were forbidden, cursed relics that drained the world's spirit. Their cities were grown, not built. Their light came from engineered flora. Their tools were creatures bred for purpose. Elara marveled at the biological technology, sophisticated yet natural. It was a civilization that had chosen evolution over invention. But awe gave way to dread when she realized how easily they could destroy her for being what they despised. While exploring her cell, she noticed an inscription carved into the living wall, a spiral symbol identical to one from her research, a theoretical marker of multiversal resonance. Someone here had seen it before. Later, when a new guard brought her food, Elara froze. The guard's face, those sharp features, those brown eyes, looked achingly familiar. It was Dr. Kieran Holt, her lab partner, or his double. But in this world, he didn't recognize her. Still, as he handed her a bowl, his hand trembled slightly, and his gaze lingered longer than it should have. "I've seen you," he whispered softly, almost to himself. "In dreams of fire and light," Elara's pulse quickened. The multiverse wasn't just physics anymore. It was personal. Elara stood before the symbiont's sacred core, a colossal sphere of living energy suspended in midair, threads of luminous matter pulsing outward like veins of a cosmic heart. Every beat sent tremors through the ground, distorting the air with a low-frequency hum. The realization struck her like a thunderclap. The resonance pattern was identical to the one emitted by her ChronoGate. Somehow her experiment had infected this universe, bleeding instability into its structure. Every reality she touched was unraveling, drawn toward collapse. The core wasn't just a power source, it was a containment field, barely holding this world together. She spent days studying it, working with Kieran's alternate self, who was both curious and fearful. His scientific instincts clashed with the faith of his people, but he couldn't ignore the evidence. When Elara showed him readings from her damaged data disk, his face went pale. "Your presence is fracturing the weave," he said quietly. "Our world is thinning." Guilt twisted inside her chest. The ChronoGate had been built to observe, never to intrude. But now she had become the disturbance, an echo that rippled across infinity. Then, one night, while decoding the energy flux near the core, she met her. A figure stepped out of the shimmering light, calm, deliberate, and identical to Elara in every detail except one. Her eyes glowed faintly silver. "You shouldn't have come," the second Elara said. "I am Dr. Voss 7. I've been cleaning up your mess across 7 timelines." Her voice carried no emotion, just exhausted authority. "Each universe you breach collapses into entropy. You're killing realities." The shock rooted Elara in place. "You can't be me," she whispered. "I would never destroy life." Voss 7 tilted her head. "You wouldn't yet. But survival requires sacrifice. The only way to stabilize the multiverse is to merge them all into one cohesive strand." Elara's stomach turned. "That would erase billions of lives." The other woman smiled coldly. "They're only variations of probability. We're the constant." The two versions of Elara stared at each other, mirrors of the same obsession separated by morality. The air trembled as the symbiont core pulsed violently, sensing the paradox between them. For the first time, Elara realized the truth. If one of them didn't disappear soon, none of the universes would survive at all. The ground shook as the symbiont core began to collapse, its light flaring into violent spirals that tore through the walls of reality. Fractures opened in the air like cracks in glass, revealing flashes of countless worlds, oceans boiling under twin suns, cities made of crystal, wastelands of endless night. Elara and her counterpart stood at the center of it all, the two versions of one soul locked in a standoff that would decide existence itself. Voss 7's calm mask finally cracked, revealing desperation behind her precision. "You think compassion will save them?" she shouted over the roar of collapsing dimensions. "You'll drown us all in infinite suffering." Elara clutched the fractured data disk to her chest, feeling the pulse of her own heartbeat syncing with the rhythm of the dying core. "Maybe," she said, her voice trembling, "but at least they'll have the chance to live. I won't choose who deserves existence." She turned toward the center of the ChronoGate that now flickered into being, its rings spinning in chaotic reverse, drawing in the energy of the collapsing worlds. If she recalibrated the device to its original signature, she could seal the tear. But the equation was clear. To restore balance, she had to be the constant. One Elara had to remain trapped between worlds to keep the other stable. Voss 7 stepped closer, eyes blazing silver. "Then let me be the one. I've seen too much already." For a heartbeat, Elara almost agreed. But she saw in the other woman's expression a coldness that would calcify into tyranny if left unchecked. "No," she whispered. "You'd turn eternity into a cage." Before Voss 7 could react, Elara slammed the data disk into the gate's control node and activated the sequence. Light erupted, engulfing everything. The other Elara's scream was swallowed by the roar of the multiverse folding in on itself. As the universe disintegrated around her, Elara felt her body dissolve into energy, her consciousness stretching across infinity. In those final moments, she whispered a message through the collapsing quantum waves. Every choice creates a world. Remember that. The light dimmed, and then silence. Somewhere in an ordinary laboratory on an ordinary Earth, a faint signal blinked to life on a forgotten console. The display read, "Transmission received. Source unknown."